to order. Roll call, please.
Councilman Boyer,
Here.
Councilman Collier,
Here.
Councilwoman Templeton. Here. Councilman Weiner.
Here.
Councilman Dennis,
Here.
Councilman Vins,
Here.
Councilman Cook.
Yep.
Councilman Timmon.
We do have a quorum. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I could have the baseball team and the folks come in, please.
Right up here by the podium.
Right in front of, right through here. Thanks.
You get. Yeah, try. Someone hold the trophy. Put the trophy in front.
All guys.
There we go.
Slide in here.
Proclamation. Whereas the Festus High School varsity baseball team had an outstanding year in 2023 under the guidance of Coach Jeffrey Montgomery. And whereas the Festus High School varsity baseball team were the Class 5 District 1 champions, the Class 5 quarterfinal 1 champions, and whereas the Festus High School varsity baseball team ended their season by advancing to the Class 5 Final Four and defeating Fort Zumwalt South in the state semifinal game, and defeating St. Francis Borgia in the state championship game to claim the school's first ever baseball state championship. Now therefore, I, Samuel F. Richards, Mayor of the city of Festus, along with the city council, do hereby proclaim the city's gratitude to the 2023 Festus High School varsity baseball team and urge all citizens to celebrate the accomplishments of this 2023 Festus High School varsity baseball team.
You can't see us, we can't see you.
Thank you all very much. Congratulations. As I said on the bus, it's nice to win.
I'll see you Wednesday. There you go.
That's it. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thank you. You guys. So, go. Yeah. You all did. We're just gonna hold on.
This isn't going.
You can't hide the fact. I'm gonna just move on to this side here for this one. Proclamation, whereas the 2023 Festus High School track and field team earned their first ever state championship and fourth consecutive state plaque. And whereas the 2023 Festus High School track and field team produced all state performances by 13 athletes in 10 events. And whereas the 2023 Festus High School track and field team had 7 athletes break school records. Now therefore, I, Samuel F. Richards, Mayor of the city of Festus, Missouri, along with the city council, do hereby proclaim the city's gratitude to the 2023 high school boys track and field team, and urge all citizens to celebrate the accomplishments of this outstanding team and its athletes. Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. What an accomplishment. Congratulations. Coach, congratulations. Congratulations. There you go. You get to take this.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you all for being here.
That's a pleasant thing to do. Real happy about that. All righty, we'll go ahead to approval of the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Totaling bills tonight total $863,227.31.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilman Boyer,
Yes.
Councilman Collier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton,
Yes.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilman Dennis,
Yes.
Councilman Cook,
Yes.
Councilman Tenen, Councilman Vince.
Yes.
Motion passes. The consent agenda passes. Remarks of visitors.
We have none, sir.
Bids, fire department.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I come before you tonight to ask for approval to enter into a subscription-based reporting software with the company of First Due. As I submitted in my packet, the current system that we have is being bought out. We don't know what the unknowns are, other than the people that have stayed with them has seen a significant increase in their fees for that supporting system. The one that we have now just does our NIFRs and allows us to communicate with 911. But the new software that we're proposing here tonight will do a lot more. If you see in the breakdown there, there's pre-planned software, scheduling software, training records and all that. We do most of that now currently with free programs. As you know, the cost is right, but using them and getting effective data back out of them and running reports and stuff like that, it's a nightmare. So I believe that this new reporting system will allow us to be more effective and efficient moving forward as we do our improvements through the fire department. So I'd ask, if you don't have any questions, I'd ask consideration to allow us to enter into that. One of the notes that you will note on the last page, one of the recommendations why I come to you early, this was for in the 3-year plan that was set prior to me coming on board. This was for next year's budget year. One of the problems is that our renewal for our current one comes up right before the next budget year. I would like to try to make the change and move forward before that, hopefully, so we don't have to enter and do another year or renew another year of subscription with our current one. But there is a chance, even if it's approved tonight, the rollout, it could bleed over. And unless we can negotiate something with that we may end up having to pay that. So I wanted to put it in there so you didn't think that we didn't look into that. And as I said, for the 23-24 budget year, there was $12,000 earmarked for this reporting system. The current one that we're proposing is $13,100 annual renewal. In the first year, there'll be an additional $500 setup fee or that. This was quoted last year, and working with the reporting company, they said they would honor last year's quote for this year. So there was a slight increase this year, but we won't see it because they honored the quote that they gave us last year in 2022. Any questions?
Chief?
Do you know of anybody that is using this current?
The
Yes.
system.
Herculaneum Fire Department,
Mhm.
R7, Hematite, and Mappaville.
No issues or anything with them?
No, they're all happy with. Now, some of them don't have as many of these different modules.
Right.
Like the Community Connect one, the only one that I know of that has it is Hematite. Went down and visited with Hematite to see how that Community Connect is. I know it's a little high compared to the other modules, but I think for the citizens of Festus, it may work if people get on board with it. How that Community Connect works is it allows, they will subscribe, get a PIN number or whatever, they can log in here. They put their personal information and they feel comfortable to share with the fire department, i.e. if they're on home oxygen or they has hazardous materials in their house, anything that they think would be important if they had an emergency at their house. It has bank level encryptions, what their thing says, so it's not easily, someone can hack into it. The other safeguard on that is it doesn't allow the fire department to go and look. So I couldn't go in and look at your house and say, oh, well, let's see what Councilman Boyer has in his house. It only opens up when a call happens at that address. And as
Okay.
long as the call's active, we can see it. Once the call's over, it locks back down. The only one that would have access to that would be the administrator of the
system.
Of the
So,
system.
you know,
But nobody, everybody that I'm aware of is happy with their system, as I said, but not all of them do all the different modules. And we could tailor this if something doesn't work for us. It's not a one. When she originally gave me the package, she gave me the whole thing and said, this is what it is. I said, could you break it out? Because if something don't work, I want the opportunity to say, hey, this don't work for us. We could tailor that section or that module, turn that module off. So.
Chief, is there, perhaps I overlooked it, is there any training or how will you gain the expertise to be able to do all this?
They will have a training session with us prior to that. And whoever the administrators are, I'll definitely be one of them, but we may have, because we try to go 2 or 3 deep at the fire department. So we'll at least have one other one. They'll work with us as they're building the system out. And then I know all of them would, but I physically talked to R7 and Hematite, and they both said that they would help us and support us as we transition into the new reporting system.
And this company, do they have phone support also during this training
Mhm.
period?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
This works great with STARS patients, especially those who are like critically ill. This is an excellent program. Very familiar with it. Only question I have is, does this have tablet capabilities as the program grows? Some do, some don't. Which module are we going to purchase?
Which we're going to purchase all of them. So yes, like under the pre-planning.
Yep.
They could take the iPad out when they're doing pre-plans.
Yep.
And then it'll automatically load into the system. This is a cloud-based system. So we won't have a physical server. It'll go to the cloud. So as they're out in the field, as long as they got reception, it'll upload to the cloud. If for some reason they're in an area that they don't have capability, say they get in a building, they lose a signal, it will save on there. And once they catch the internet again, it will upload the information. And that was another reason why I wanted to try and move forward with it, because one of our big things that we're wanting to do is start pre-planning. Didn't want them to try in an old system or existing system and then try to move all the data. So as we're moving forward, I think, and the other thing is it's all these modules talk to each other. With other reporting systems that I'm familiar with, Rock Community Net, they have a reporting system, and then you buy from other companies that talk to the system. The problem with that, the drawback to that is when you have a system or a issue, then they're trying to figure out whose responsibility it is. With this, it's all in one system. So we have one number to call and we'll have a dedicated troubleshooter, if you want to call it, that will help us out. So that all the modules will be under one roof. So we're not trying to figure out whose problem it really is. It's all in one system.
All upgrades will be included in that same price. Any
Yes.
upgrades or not?
Mhm. And they're constantly, when I went and talked to R7 about it, they were telling me this is what they're working on. And he called me a week later and said, they already got it in the system. So they're constantly doing it. The company started as a pre-planned company and they're building. So the companies as a whole is well seasoned, but they're building the modules out and trying to be all under one roof system, which is fairly rare in the fire service. Because like I said, you got all these multiple companies that want to work together, but this one has one under the roof. So it'll benefit us, I think.
Is there any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the bid of $13,100 plus a one-time $500 implementation fee from First Due.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilman Cook,
Yes.
Councilman Tenen,
Yes.
Councilman Venz,
Yes.
Councilman Dennis,
Yes.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton. Yes. Councilman Collier,
Yes.
Councilman Boyer.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Motion passes. Take care of it, chief. Ordinances and resolutions. Tonight, we have bill number 4722 on the agenda. Would the clerk please read the bill for the first time?
Bill number 4722, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement for professional services with Burns and McDonnell Engineering Company, incorporating said agreement as part of this ordinance and establishing an effective date.
Staff report.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor, City Council. My staff report is in the packet. This is an item that was budgeted for. We put $85,000 in the budget for working on the first phase of our water master plan for a number of reasons. One is that we just don't have one. We did receive 3 responses to our RFQ. We interviewed 2 of the firms and opted after a review and staff analysis to go with Burns and McDonnell. Very excited about this process. They're excited about it as well. And the agreement amount came in under budget at $80,000.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, is that a set amount that they won't go over that for the year, or can they actually get into some problems and end up going over that 85?
The 80,000 is the agreement, and that's the amount, and anything that would be unforeseen would have to be part of a change order. But as you can tell, the agreement is pretty comprehensive. Obviously, a lot of this first phase is compiling historical data, but also doing in-field testing at hydrants throughout the city to build a basic map, if you will, of what our water system currently looks like and what it can do.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Is there any council member that would like this bill carried over to the next meeting? Hearing none, do I have a motion to suspend the rules and read Bill 4722 for the second time?
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Madam Clerk, would you please read the bill?
Bill number 4722, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement for professional services with Burns and McDonnell Engineering Company, incorporating said agreement as part of this ordinance and establishing an effective date. Councilman Dennis,
Yes.
Councilman Benz,
Yes.
Councilman Cook,
Yes.
Councilman Tinnen,
Yes.
Councilman Boyer,
Yes.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilman Collier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton.
yes,
Bill 4722 has passed. We have Bill 4723 on the agenda. Would the clerk please read Bill 4723 for the first time?
Bill number 4723, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, authorizing the City of Festus to participate in the Missouri Firefighters Critical Illness Trust and Pool, and further authorizing the mayor to execute such documents as may be necessary for the city's participation therein.
Bill 4723 is now open for discussion. May I have a staff report, please?
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. My staff report is included in your packet. The state legislature here a few years ago established the Missouri Firefighters Critical Illness Trust and Pool. It's to address the higher level of risk for firefighters who are in the firefighting service for more than 5 years. As part of that, because the pool is available, our workers' compensation insurance provider, MIRMA, to encourage participation in the trust and pool, is covering 50% of the cost of joining the pool, while at the same time removing any additional assessment that would be levied on the city if you did not participate. The additional assessment set to be applied this first year would be $10,748. The cost of joining the trust and pool is $34.38, of which the MIRMA will pay half of. So the recommendation here is to spend about $2,000 and save $8 in the process to join the Missouri Firefighters Critical Illness Trust and Pool.
Question, sir.
Yes, sir.
If we join this trust and there's potentially a claim, does it not affect our mod factor then?
Correct. It goes through the trust and pool and doesn't touch MIRMA at all.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Is there any council member that'd like this bill carried over to the next meeting? Hearing none, do I have a motion to suspend the rules and read Bill 4723 for the second time in title only?
So moved.
second,
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you please read the bill 4723 for the second time?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, authorizing the City of Festus to participate in the Missouri Firefighters Critical Illness Trust and Pool, and further authorizing the mayor to execute such documents as may be necessary for the city's participation therein. Councilman Collier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton,
yes,
Councilman Boyer,
Yes.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilman Dennis,
Yes.
Councilman Cook,
Yes.
Councilman Benz,
Yes.
Councilman Tinnen.
Yes.
Bill 4723 has passed. We also have Bill 4724 on the agenda. Would the clerk please read Bill 4724 for the first time?
Bill number 4724, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement for professional services with Bond Architects Incorporated, incorporating said agreement as part of this ordinance and establishing an effective date.
Could I have a staff report, please?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My report is in the packet. What this boils down to is the next step in our Red Barn project at Kreitz Park. As you recall, we set aside about $660,000 out of our ARPA funding to assess the barn, but also to proceed with design plans and renovations. We've been working with bond architects to come up with a phased approach that would allow us to manage the costs. There in your packet, you can see what they envision as what we'll be able to accomplish in each phase. And hopefully we can get as deep into the phasing as possible based on the budget that we have. In order for us to proceed, they would provide design and construction management services based on 11% of the cost of the project. Based on the budget for the project, that would be $72,979. That would be a not to exceed amount of $72,979 for them to do the design and construction management on this project.
Hey, Greg, if I saw right, correct me if I'm wrong, please, but I thought I saw where the silo was going to be demoed. Is
Structurally unsafe.
so we had a structural engineer look at that and
Yes.
deem it.
Yeah, if you
Unsafe.
recall, there was a report that I circulated. I want to say it was in February or March. That while the barn itself structurally is in great shape, there's some water damage and things of that sort, some rot. But the silo itself, the concrete is beginning to kind of Swiss cheese. I think one of the design concepts that we've talked about moving forward, which would come at a much later phase, would be finding a structure that would take the place or hold the place of where the silo once was, because it is part of kind of that profile that the barn has, is having the silo back there, but obviously putting in the place of the existing silo, but the existing silo does need to come down.
Greg, so part of even our sign, our logo, whatever, it's like beautiful and historic Festus. And one of the things, and it's not necessarily meant straight for the silo, but I've said in the past, and I'll say it again, if we tear everything down, there's not going to be anything historic left. And is it when you say it's not recoverable, or it's like imminent danger, whatever the description of it is, I mean, everything can be done for a price. Is the price just is it way out of sight, or is there no way to keep it up?
The integrity of the concrete is extremely suspect.
Sure.
To try to incorporate the existing silo into a design moving forward, and some of the concepts that we've seen is where people would be able to have an area to sit in the round around the inside of the perimeter of a silo structure, perhaps with a fire pit or something like that. Those are some of the ideas that the architectural firm has kicked around at us. But unfortunately, the existing silo as it stands right now is just not safe. And it's not something that is recoverable. But I think paying tribute to that, making sure that there's something that is incorporated, and I think you'll see that in some of the later slides on the phasing of the build out, is that something would be put in the place that would very much look like and possess all the characteristics of the silo, but would be a modern, safe structure that would have all the amenities that you'd like to have.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for the explanation. But, and I'm not going on with this, but in the past, things have been deemed like not worthy of reclaiming, of putting the time and effort into it. But if this is out of sight and it's beyond repair, I can certainly understand it. But just if you would, and I'm sure you will, keep in mind, we only have so many historic items, so many historic sites in Festus. And, please use your best judgment to keep them from being history, please. Okay, that's all I have, sir.
Kind of along that same line would be if the concrete is bad, but parts of the other structure are still have, usability to them.
Absolutely.
Maybe we can save the wood, save the beam, save whatever out of that to repurpose into something else.
Yeah.
That makes,
Fortunately, the silo itself is just it's a yeah, there's the roof on it's gone. There's nothing inside of it. The base of it may be recoverable, so we'll have that footprint that we'll be able to emulate if we're able to build something back at a later date.
and we're trying to be, I agree with you taking down all of history, but at some point you're trying to build an improved facility for future use. I'd hate to say, well, we tried to save it and then 6 months or a year down the line, we need a third of your budget to take care of this disaster that's happened. So I
think we went in.
pay homage to it, but not at the price of, impacting the future of the success.
I think when we went into this, we certainly knew that the possibility of the barn or any of the other structures on site possibly had, time and weather has gotten the better of them. We're very fortunate in the fact that the barn is very much in a position where work can be done to make it more than serviceable. Make it something that's vibrant and something we can all be proud of. Unfortunately, this one piece that stands outside of it, maybe in part because it hasn't had a roof on it for some time, but it's just not safe to have it there anymore.
I think we're in a recovery mode with a lot of this, and I don't know that the silo goes back to the original history of the barn, but I think at this point have been inside that barn numerous times. We're in full mode recovery, just to save a landmark. And I'm all about old things because I'm one of them. But I do hope when it comes time when we set the rates that we remember that that we remember the citizens, because there's a lot of money that'll affect a few. So, but that's just a statement. That's all it is.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, could you read? I need a motion to suspend the rules, sorry, and read Bill 4724 for the second time.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Now, Madam Clerk, would you please read Bill 4724 for the second time?
Bill number 4724, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement for professional services with Bond Architects Incorporated, incorporating said agreement as part of this ordinance and establishing an effective date. Councilwoman Templeton,
Yes.
Councilman Collier,
Yes.
Councilman Boyer,
Yes.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilman Tenon,
Yes.
Councilman Cook,
Yes.
Councilman Venz,
Yes.
Councilman Dennis.
Yes.
Bill 4724 has passed. New business. Fire Department.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. I come before you this last year and this current year. We had some capital improvement of getting some new equipment. And I'm here before you tonight. In our capital improvement budget, we replaced our airbags along with the new truck. Current airbags that we have now are beyond their life. Expected service life. So we deem them surplus equipment and would like to ask for your permission to dispose of them. We have been contacted by the Jefferson County Emergency Service Association Training Academy that would like to use them for a training aid. So we would like permission to get rid of them and give them to Training Academy.
Is there any discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to allow the chief to dispose of the airbags to the Jefferson County Training Association.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Dispose of them, chief.
All righty, thank you.
Disposal of scuba equipment.
Again, with our capital improvement, early this year, we got our new SCBA's, which come in earlier than was expected. With that being said, our old ones rotated out earlier. So again, they're deemed surplus. There is some monetary value to these because there is probably right under 2 years left on the bottles. The SCBA's really don't expire if you keep them maintained. But as far as the bottles, they all have to be replaced. They have a life of 15 years and they'll have to be replaced. I don't believe we would get very much if we tried to sell them on the market just because of the age and having to replace the bottles in a couple of years. So again, we'd ask that we deem them surplus equipment and we would like to dispose of them. You can see a breakdown in your council packet. We have 21 bottles. There's a typo there. We actually have, we have 21 packs. The typo is there's 42 bottles, one broken one, but there's 42 total bottles instead of 38 that's in your packet. We've been contacted by some less fortunate fire departments asking what we're going to do with them. And again, we've been contacted by the Jefferson County Emergency Service Association Trade Academy for some of them for their instructors while they do live bird training. So I'd like to ask the mayor and the city council for approval to donate the SCBA's to less fortunate fire departments and 10 of them to the Jefferson County Emergency Service Training Academy.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'd like to just make a quick question before we go through that. It's a little extreme, I think, but when we donate things like this, are there any liabilities? Does our liability end when the goods are transferred, or is there any liability that is attached to these items when they're released from our custody?
We can have a waiver and release signed by the departments when they come pick them up.
Okay.
We can either do that or go through have the state fire marshal handle the paperwork. And
There you go. Even better.
we
Wonderful.
can do it either way.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? I believe I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Chief, you may
you.
donate the scuba gear. Old business,
We have none, sir.
Councilman Boyer.
The mayor's cruise seemed like it went well, well attended. I'd say there's probably 350 cars down there cruising. There was quite a few for the evening, and everybody seemed to be having a good time. I don't think there was any incidents with her. Yeah. Yeah. So it seemed like it went real well, and I think a lot of
Someone
people
tried to drive a
enjoyed it.
bus right into the middle of it. Other than that.
Yeah, it went well. Didn't it? Good timing. That's all I have, sir.
All righty, thank you. Councilman Weiner.
Just a couple things. Chief, thank you. Since it seems like in the last month or so, I've seen a lot more enforcement around town, going down to Crides Park and also on Highway A. So thank you for that. Looks like we're getting a grasp on slowing people down.
We're trying.
Yes, sir. So thank you for that. Last time I mentioned, maybe a couple times ago, but there was a homeless person sleeping behind our store. next to the ball barn back there. Well, this morning, my wife goes to our store and there's a homeless person sleeping in our doorway this morning. Okay. Thought it was a male, called the police, all that stuff and everything. And I was inside with Robin, and it ends up, it was a female. She was very apologetic for being there, etc. And so once again, I say that, and I know that a few things have been done, but I think we need to eventually do something about this because it's not going to get better. It will get worse. And I think that it's like that old piece of fruit in the bottom of the refrigerator. If you just let it go, you never really notice it, and it turns bad. And if we just don't talk about this, I don't think anything's going to be done about it. But I keep bringing it up. I've had discussions with Councilman Boyer, for instance, and things are trying to be done about it. But just keep it in your minds, and if you have something that you feel is worthwhile, please talk to the mayor or Greg about it, or myself, please. Thank you.
Councilman Dennis.
Have we had any further thought to a splash pad for one of our parks? Any thoughts about that? I've visited several cities. Perryville was the farthest way I got, and they had a wonderful little water park. So could we kind of start looking at that? I know some years ago we had a "What would you like to see" list, and I believe that was on there. So is that something we could just start thinking about? Or maybe looking at where a good location would be?
Yes to all the above.
Well, then that's all I have, sir. Thank you.
All righty. Councilman Cook.
Thank you. A couple things. Mark, I see on your permits, the evaluation total. Please stop. I got my reassessment. I'm not happy. So you can stop with that now. So I'm sure the numbers are coming from somewhere. To the police department, kudos for taking the high road. That's all I'm going to say. Much better department, much better personnel than myself. Kudos. Last, sir, is I got a few texts over the weekend and some today about Pounds and Gamble Cemetery, Matt and Greg. I know we discussed a while back about doing the traffic study that was done, trying to come up with some ideas. I forwarded a text I got from a resident over there with the signs and stuff. Can you kind of update so I can pass an update along and then continue the conversation on where we're kind of going and what we're going to be doing probably?
Well, a couple things. One, as you've noticed in the weekly updates that you've gotten from the police department, they've done 2 traffic details. Both of them have focused on at least a part of the time on Gamble Cemetery. Chief, I'll let you expand on that.
Yes, we've done, back to what Councilman Weiner was saying earlier. On the days where we have all of our departments working, our sergeants have taken it upon themselves at different times to do their platoon, focusing on nothing but traffic complaints we're having around town. So 2 different times in the last month, we've actually spent several hours over on Gamble Cemetery, multiple traffic stops. I know one day there were, I think, 38 citations issued on Gamble Cemetery alone. The second one, I don't have an exact breakdown of where all the citations were, but there were, I think, 60 some citations issued on that second one also. So we're doing what we can to get out there, a highway, especially also with the red light complaints we're getting. So we're trying to knock out some enforcement as we can, work it into our day just to try to slow some people down and stop them from running red lights all the time.
Question. It was brought to my attention that some communities have noise ordinances, and I don't know what discussion we've had on that because I know, forgive me, I'm not a trucker. Jake braking or compression braking?
Jacobs.
Yeah. Could that be something we could look into in the traffic study? Maybe as a
2 things, I guess. One, as a follow-up to the traffic study that was completed, I did reach back out to Sean White with CBB and asked her, I was on vacation. She's on vacation currently. So in the next week or so, I would hope that we'd get at least kind of a summary of findings and any recommendations that she could possibly make. to kind of close out all that data that we received as part of that. Certainly you can do that. The issue you run into is what it boils down to is enforcement. And I think what we have going on right now with the traffic details, when there is manpower available to be able to address the traffic concern, whether they're jake braking or whether they're speeding, one way or another, the PD is able to address it. If we put another ordinance on the books and say that we're going to put a prohibit or limit the amount of use of compression braking, between 7 and 5, there's all types of activity in all parts of our city that involve medium to large size trucks. Whether it's a construction site and you're dealing with heavy equipment that's making all sorts of noises, is it something that's taking place during normal daylight hours, or is it something that's taking place at 10 or midnight? And then it's an issue, and then it's an enforcement issue at that point. So we can certainly put it on the books. And then you're putting another thing in the pot for the PD to have to work with. And that's not to say that we can't do that. I know specific to the text message and pictures you sent me, I'm very familiar with that area. That's in Bonne Terre, Old Bonne Terre Road. It goes past a nursing home. It goes over some railroad tracks. It goes past the city lake. That road is nothing like what we have with Gamble Cemetery that connects a state and federal highway to each other. So is that something that would be a possible solution for Gamble Cemetery? Possibly. The traffic count that we got back, the number of trucks that were going through there, is that an extraordinary amount? 20 to 25 trucks a day. I don't know if that is or not. That's something I would hope that the engineer would be able to relate to us if we do have what she would consider, what CBB would consider, what AASHTO and standard traffic practices would consider, and an excessive number of truck traffic coming through that area at the speed that they're coming through.
So,
The other thing that we would run into enforcement wise, as far as the jake braking ordinance or whatever, would be actually having an officer out there at that point in time to catch that violation. Truck comes through, violates that ordinance. Somebody calls us and tells us, well, it was just for no practice, just any Pasdera trucking just rolled through. We cannot issue a citation to a vehicle. We actually have to issue the citation to the driver. So unless we were in that general vicinity right when it was happening to where we could stop that vehicle, even with an ordinance on the books, there's not going to be a whole lot we can do.
So my level, my comprehension, sounds like I'm jumping the gun. I need to let this traffic study be completed, and then we'll have the data, is what you're saying?
Well, we have the data, and that's been shared with the folks that requested the traffic calming. And that's also been shared with council. But I did ask Sean if she could deliver a summary of findings and also any recommendations that can come out of that based on the conversations we've had to date, based on the classification of the road. As we've talked about in previous meetings, it does present, there's some challenges there. There's some definite challenges there. You have an area that at one time was a quiet country road, and you had multiple subdivisions built all around it that access it, and then it connects, like we said, one state highway to another state highway. It presents some challenges. So as I think we've always tried to do is, we're not traffic engineers. We defer to them to institute and recommend best practices, and that's what we're going to do at this point.
Okay, I'll just circle back, and once we have the results, we'll have a conversation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilman Collier.
I have a few things. The trash that was behind Enterprise, that was cleaned up real good. Thanks for getting that done. That was few citizens complained about that. Matt, I want to thank you for getting that letter out for the no parking on the Mueller Street. Have we got any responses back or anything on that, or?
That was floored.
Zero responses. And
Okay.
I think they'll happen when we start putting the signs up and we start enforcing it. But
Okay,
we'll do that later this month.
okay, that's good. Stephanie, thanks for the reports. Those are a big help. This one is something that I think we're gonna need to look into, and I'm not sure who's gonna have to pay for them. But between American Legion Drive, where they've dug out for that one project, there's a pretty big drop off there. Who's gonna be responsible for putting a guardrail up there to keep cars from going off into that?
I think we would expect that as part of the developer.
Okay, well, that's something that we probably need to kind of look into to make sure that that happens once it gets to the point.
Yeah,
Okay. And I have had some contacts about golf carts on the city streets, and I've been checking into those. And we'll see, I haven't really had a chance to talk real explicit with the citizen, but I told him I'd check into it and see what we could come up with. And I'm not sure exactly what his, if he's even got a complaint, what the complaint would be.
Are they complaining about not being able to, or the fact that there are?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's the four-wheelers are one that's pretty reckless.
Sure.
But he said he's bought a golf cart and he was wanting to use it. And I think he's wanting to see what restrictions we do have.
Under the state statutes for Missouri, they're known as low speed vehicles. And in Festus, they're not permitted on city streets. There is a number of safety requirements to be able to make a low speed vehicle legal, even by state statute. And at the end of the day, golf carts are meant for the golf course. Unlike a UTV where there's a roll cage and a harness, a golf cart has a plastic roof and some struts and no seat belts to hold you inside. So there is certainly there is a way to do a lot of modifications to a golf cart to get it up to that low speed vehicle standard. I know I had a conversation just this week or last week. Someone floated an email. Was that Mike that sent me the email about the city of Kirkwood? City of Kirkwood.
Right. I got that email too.
Okay. Unlike Kirkwood, which is not dissected by state, federal, and interstate highways, Festus is a different situation. I mean, I wouldn't even begin to try, and I realize folks are just wanting to perhaps use it in their neighborhoods, but at this point, I mean, it's council's discretion. If you want us to pursue an ordinance that would somehow find a way to accommodate a couple of golf carts that would be vying for space on our city streets alongside vehicles and trucks and dump trucks, and
that could be causing a disaster to happen there.
So
What do you think, Chief?
For safety factors, I don't think it's a good idea at all.
Okay.
Even UTVs with the roll cages and all of that, I'm not a fan of having those on the streets. Just, I know the city ventured into that at one point in time, wasn't in place very long. The subject had a wreck in front of what is now Enterprise Bank, and the subject hit a car and he didn't live through it. So I don't think it's a good idea to have them running around town with, bigger vehicles in the mix.
and the intent of the vehicles, I mean, what they're designed for. UTVs are designed to either be used on a farm or out in the woods. Golf carts are meant to be used on a golf course. Like I said, you can certainly make accommodations that would allow either of those vehicles to be, I know the low speed vehicle requirements, first you have to get a VIN. Most golf carts don't even come with one. After that, you can put the blinkers and the headlights and the safety restraints and all the other sorts of things in there, but then somebody has to inspect that. And I don't know if I would feel comfortable having a member of our staff make a safety inspection on a golf cart and then come to find out later on, especially God forbid, something bad happens, that someone was hurt because one of those safety devices failed or didn't work or was installed improperly. So it's a rabbit hole and we can go down it. But it's
I just told him I'd check into what we had on our books and get some information. So that's good. Thank you. I kind of agree pretty much with everything you said.
Thank you.
I have
Mr. Mayor, could I, one thing, not on Jim's time, but I'm sorry. I also been getting these and I invited them to get on the agenda and approach the council with their issues. So maybe we can finally put it to bed one time. That was my suggestion to the person that keeps contacting me. So just wanted to let you know that.
All righty, thank you. Councilwoman Templeton, sorry.
I was asked if the new daycare center has a standard operating schedule or if they have occasional variances from that. Apparently, I guess it was last week at some point, there was a full parking lot and it was late night hours and the place was full. So I said I would find out what I could about that. Maybe it was a one-time deal. Don't know, but I thought I would ask. So I don't know if you've had any. Yeah. So, and then the other thing kind of goes back to what Kevin had asked before about the splash pad. It is very early in that process, but Matt and I, as well as Barb and Josh and Greg, are in the works of discussing having some sort of inclusive playground that would be accessible for different abled people, as well as hopefully having a splash pad. So as it progresses, everybody will know, but right now it's just fact finding. But I'm very hopeful that we can find some way to bring that to the community. That's it.
Thank you, Councilman Venz.
Like a lot of you all said, the city of Festus has been booming. It's been a lot of going on, people coming to town. Businesses are really looking good and people are enjoying the activities that we have, parks and all the different things we have going on. So it's good to see that. I've seen the police out everywhere. I mean, I understand you'd be over on that side of the street because something's gonna happen that side. It does every day. Believe me, I see them fly on Horion everywhere else, but I know you do your best. And but no, just glad to see Festus really looking good right now. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Tennant.
I'd like to elaborate a little bit on the mini bikes, golf carts, you name it. They seem to be everywhere now. And I think one crashed in Bailey Station the other day. Did you hear anything about that?
Not right offhand, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and.
But I have gotten a lot of calls and conversations about the UTVs. And is there something we can do even after hearing what you just said, to do an experimental type deal with them instead of passing an ordinance? Because really, we never really had a whole lot of chance the first time it passed. We passed it based on people just wanting to use them as work utility vehicles, I believe. And then we had the accident over there on Middle Street, I believe it was. And that kind of shut them all down. But I mean, they're legal in a lot of states. They can be made street legal. I don't see a problem with Peevely or some of the other towns that are passed this ordinance. So what do you guys think? Hey, I know it's one of them unseen, talked about things, but I mean.
It's something else to police.
Huh?
It's something else to police.
It is, but I mean.
I don't make the rules,
I see your point too, but it's something else to police because then it's gonna be every 12-year-old and 13-year-old out there as well. It's just, I think it's a topic for a work session. How's that?
Yeah, I agree with that because I think you can get them licensed. I mean, I know in Arizona, they're everywhere with license plates on. And so it's this same vehicles we have here are out there with license plates. Utah, many of the states. But what do you guys think? A work session on it?
Well, and just to clarify, the UTVs are not licensable in Missouri. They are considered utility vehicles, technically farm equipment, but then again, a Can-Am 1000 was seating for 4 and a sound system that could lift the roof off this place. Obviously is not a piece of farm equipment. Again, I just caution, at their essence, at their intent, they're not designed to be meandering around the streets of a residential neighborhood, along with all the other vehicles that are intended to be on those streets. Pit bikes, completely different thing. Those below 50cc things. You and I talked here in the last week and I saw a gal on a 49cc. Well, Matt and I both saw on a 49cc scooter with a 2-year-old sitting in her lap wearing a Spider-Man bicycle helmet, which is clearly not safe. I just think if you add more of these variables into what's already kind of a dangerous road to be on in the first place, I mean, can it be done safely? It all depends on the operator at the end of the day.
Well, then why did we pass it the first time, Greg?
I wasn't here. I don't know.
But
Well,
basically,
a lot of times these things come up, Jim, when in my experience, they come up when gas prices go over $3 a gallon or get even $4. That's when we start talking about vehicles that, a motorcycle or a UTV or a golf cart, which doesn't take, they'll get 40, 50 miles to the gallon.
Last time
When we did it, there was even a sample ordinance circulated by, I want to say maybe the state or someone. The fatality accident was before they were allowed on the street, for the record. And during my absence, when my son was hurt, is when the ordinance or the rule went away. But like I said, I think the idea was you had to be 16, you had to be a licensed driver to drive it. I don't remember everything about it, but I don't know of any incidences other than the fatality which preceded any rules or regulations. You had to have a sticker. I don't remember any inspection involved, but I think Stacy's right. A work session. Let's get it out there, put it to bed, and whatever we decide, or have the citizens come and have their say, and then we'll make our decision. But there are down south, they're everywhere. And people around town that I talk to want to use them for utility things like hauling limbs or going from point A to point B, doing little things. So I'm not for or against it, but those are facts I'm pretty sure of. I know about the fatality accident because I was in that business, but that was preceding any rules that we had. I don't know of any instances. We did have them. And there was a sample ordinance that came from one of the state organizations when gas was high. So I think a work session would be a good idea.
Well, the problem we ran into was Highway A. State Patrol was having a fit. I was on the council then. It was $10. It had to be licensed had to be permitted and had to show proof of insurance. But I remember State Patrol was all over us because they were shooting across Highway A on them, and that's a state highway. And then can you imagine a golf cart on Pounds Road? I already got a bunch of ladies here who are screaming about traffic, and I live on Pounds Road. Holy crap. That would scare the hell out of me.
well, and Mike, at one time I had a Chrysler used to make a little car called a gym car. And it was a street legal because I had license plates on it. It looked like a golf cart. It's electric. Top speed was maybe 25 miles an hour. And my gosh, it was like, you talk about a scary thing to drive because everybody, when your speed limit's 30, people of course are doing 35. And it was always somebody right on your bumper. And to me, that is kind of scary. But I still go back to the UTVs. It's like, just like Kevin said, I can go different places. I see them everywhere. I don't see cops pulling them over left and right. I don't see seeing them upside down any more than automobiles or anything else, but I think it's worthy at least to have a work session on it.
Remember, it's state issue, highway patrols. That's why we send them.
Crossing the highway. I understand that.
Yeah, how do we get past that? How do we move forward on that?
Well, we will, Greg and I will talk about having a work session, and when can we have a work session? We obviously can't have one on Monday, the 19th, because that's a holiday. And then our council meeting is the 26th. And then you go into July and we'll see what we can do. But we'll talk about when we can have a work session.
And also, Sam, can you check? I think pretty sure Peevely's got them. Can you talk to them and see how that's working
Sure.
out for them?
Turkey's got it.
Perky does.
Turkey's got it.
I think DeSoto does too.
Sure can.
You know, if we were like Crystal City, I think the probability of having something like that enacted would be much greater because it's a small residential town. But over here, I mean, you know, the roads, the cars, the trucks. I mean, it's not a residential area so much, it's more industrial. And especially Highway A, like Mike talked about. I mean, that would be.
I don't think you could have them on highway.
Actually, you can. They're not allowed on any numbered highway, but they're allowed on lettered, because lettered highways are considered farm roads. But if you look at a highway, you tell me that's a farm road. But technically, by state statute, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong here, they would be allowed on a lettered road.
I believe that's correct. I do know that there is a statute that was passed, I don't know, 10 years or so ago that allows you to regulate golf carts and to set some rules beyond what's in state law, but I'd have to research that a little further.
Okay. We'll figure out a work session and we'll discuss that and also discuss a splash pad and where to put it.
One other thing. So another thing that people have been talking to me about a little bit is the mayor cruise is such a success that I've had several people ask for another one. You know, maybe
fall.
we do have to.
Yes, there's one in the fall.
Maybe they're talking 3 then. I can't keep up with everything, you know? But I don't know. Maybe we could have another one then, besides the 2.
Barb, when is the fall cruise?
Third Saturday, September 16th.
September 16th.
Mr. Mayor, how about a council cruise? We haven't had one of them yet.
Okay.
It just seems bring a lot of people to the city and.
Oh, yeah, that's
good. You know,
we had a big crowd.
we were talking about city's streets closing at 9 o'clock a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't see where it can hurt to have another one for sure.
Okay, we'll talk about
Bring
it.
some more activity. We can talk about that at that work session.
Okay.
All right.
Is there anything else anybody like to bring up? Is that it, Jim?
Yes. So,
Okay. Well, we've had a rather busy week, to say the least. Regardless of what you've read in the Post-Dispatch and on Facebook, our police department is professional and in no way reflects the opinions that were presented in those articles. I totally support the department and the officers that were involved in that accident. I talked to all 3 of them and made sure that they understood that they did a good job, that they did their job the way they were supposed to, and that I was quite proud of how they handled that situation. So is there anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. We are adjourned.